And a very warm welcome to Dive Bomb F1 Season 5. We've got 3 more weeks to go of the championship and still 6 drivers that can mathematically win the title. No one could clinch it tonight though, but these 2 rounds coming up are quite crucial to determine for some people whether they stay in the championship fight or if they're eliminated. 3 drivers after tonight, no matter what happens, they will still be in contention next week. But the other 3, they got some work to do if they want to stand a chance of even clinching the Season 5 championship. And what better racetracks to do it around Monza and Zandvoort. So welcome along everybody, I'm GeForce, your commentator for this evening, just like I have done this season. And we're very excited for this Monza race because it is going to be a 50% race. Now, before we go into the main qualifying action, we're going to go through your current championship standings and give you a rough idea as to who is still in at the hunt. So, apologies if you can't see it very well, but you have to like squint, but there we go. So Wade is currently in the lead of the championship with 224 points. Then we have Deck in second. Deck's not here tonight, but he's still mathematically in the running, so it doesn't matter if he doesn't show up. Darky's in third. He's not here currently. Not sure where he is. Hopefully he'll join it soon. And we've got Dan in 4th on 156, Tony in 5th on 149, and Chris Johnson in 6th on 145. So Dan, Tony, and Chris Johnson are the drivers to keep an eye on, really, to make sure that they do not mess up tonight. Because if they mess up, then there's their chance of a championship gone. So without further ado, I know I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. I'm going to see who's going to be the first driver out on a lap. It will be, I believe, the 2 Racing Bulls. And yes, we do have Racing Bulls out there on the circuit. Oh my goodness. It's good to have 2 legends back full time. They will be racing with us next season, but the final 3 rounds, just a chance to get a feel for the game and to get a warm-up of who they'll be racing against next season. Of course, Lewis Craig raced last week, but he was reserved back then, but he's now full-time. CJ is raced for the rest of the season now in the Racing Bulls. Now, he is a quick driver. Will he have got used to the game? In my opinion, I think so, but we'll have to wait and see. This track is oh so classical. Dates all the way back to 1922. It used to have ovals back then. Original circuit layout stretched to over 10 kilometers. And now it's one of 4 current Formula 1 circuits which formed part of the inaugural Formula 1 calendar back in 1950. Let's go on board a lap then with the amazing CJ. Make your way towards turn number 1. Very, very tight through there. Aim for the apex as much as you can. Now heading towards Curve Grande. As you exit the first chicane, stay in 7th or 8th gear. Make sure you aim as close to the right as you possibly can to get a good exit into the first of the variantes. It got a bit squirmy on the first exit, but it is the first Lesmo. Aim to the right as you can. Very nicely taken through there. In the second Lesmo, you aim as much to the right as well. You brake just after the 50-meter board. And he's invalidated his run. So unfortunately, he is not going to be doing a lap for now. So next on a lap will be his teammate, Lewis Craig. Luckily, he hasn't invalidated yet as he heads towards Ascari. He took Ascari really well, actually, as he tries to get temperature into the tyres. He's going to get a bit dirty here, though, from the driver in front, which is one of the Hasses. And we know, I was speaking to Jack earlier, the dirty air around this final corner is awful. But Lewis is going to get a bit of a turn. It's a 1:20.0. That is a very quick lap time right off the bat. So very impressive indeed as he tries to move out the way. And I'm trying to go off the old ball shot. There we go. Who's next to cross the line? It is Dan Wilnut, one of 6 drivers that can still be in contention with a 1:19.955. Jake just about to start his lap time. And Jack is also starting his lap time as well. Here's your championship leader right now, Shek Ways. if he pulls up a very good performance tonight and almost scores a clean sweep, then that's really going to help him and he could clinch the title next week. So if he wants to make sure that he has a chance to clinch it next week, he's really got to pull off nearly a maximum sweep of points tonight, which, to be honest, the only person that I think, obviously, Darky's done it this season, Jordan has. So, you know, it's not impossible, but you got to like both tracks. Now, we got the two Hasses out on the lap. Jordan has done really well this season. 2 wins on the trot, and very well deserved from him after a really impressive performance last week as Jordan goes up to 6th. CJ puts on a lap and moves into 2nd, so he was just getting a bit of a banker lap in before he goes again. I thought he would go into the pit lane, but he didn't go into the pit lane. Coutinho wants an invite. Okay, that is fine. I will be as quick as I can. There's a lot of action going out there on track, so there you go, Coutinho. You should have got an invite, my friend, to the lobby. So hopefully you got an invite. But you can see the current lap times at the moment as Gamer James is just about to start his outlap. Now, I was looking at the stats earlier on in terms of like how consistent people has been. It's not been someone that's been all rightly consistent, but there's people that have really shown promise throughout, and it is really great to see. I was seeing who's got the most wins here. So, of course, Wade has got one win, and that was in Jeddah. He almost got one in Monaco. Deck got 2 wins. And then we had Deck that won 4. No, not Deck. Darky's won 4. And then we've had Tony that's won in Miami. Jordan's won the last 2 races. Baz has won 1. Coutinho's won 1, I believe. No, he hasn't. And we also have Jess, who's not racing until next season now, who's also won. And Ryan Berry in Canada. So those are the drivers that, of course, won. But of course, Wade's scoring points in every race. Silverstone was his weakest, but apart from that, he's been pretty good. So the other drivers have got a lot of work to do there, but you never know, anything can happen. My pick for the title is not here. And if he's not here tonight, that's not going to do him wonders for next week, because he is pretty much out of it. So yeah. Hopefully, Coutinho should join very soon into the lobby, because I just give him an invite. Coutinho, if you want another invite, let me know, and I'll quickly send you one. So we've got 10 minutes and 46 seconds to go. And with it being a 50%, this could mean some very interesting strategies, which I will draw attention to as we get to the race, because I don't want to give the drivers some hints, just in case they're watching the stream whilst they're on qualifying. But speaking from experience... Speaking from experience, from doing 50% races on this game, I've done quite a few on this game. I think I've done about 2 or 3 on this game. 2 proper ones that score points, but there we go. So we've got Jordan that slots it up into 8th, and he's just done a few laps on a medium tyres. Now, that is an interesting strategy. Hopefully, he's not going to be using those medium compounder tyres during the race. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. So your order at the moment is Waze from CJ, from Dan, from Lewis Craig. Dan just about to start his lap time. Gamer James in the middle of his lap. Then we got Jake in 5th. No, Jake in 6th, sorry, because Johnson in 7th, Jordan 8th, Tony in 9th, Jack Craig in 10th. He's still on the hard compound of tyres. Then we got Bazet in 11th, Ryan in 12th. Mick has somehow retired. That's probably because he left the session. Not entirely sure what's happened there. And then we've got Scottish Goat in 14th, who has not set a lap yet. But let's watch board with Daniel. For the last couple of weeks, we will be... Our main focus will be on our championship contenders, but of course we will be keeping an eye on other drivers as well. But of course we've got to keep an eye on the ones that could still be in contention. But Dan currently sitting in 4th in the championship. And he's got to pick up some more points today. He's got to, because otherwise he's going to be in a spot of bother. After qualifying, I managed to do, with help from ChatGPT, I managed to get a set of permutations for tonight, which is what Dan, Tony, and Chris need to do if they want to still be in the fight next week. Dan stays in P3 at the moment. Anyone else on a run as Lewis Craig goes out fastest with a 1:19.7. Waze has invalidated his outrun. Scottish Goat, I think, will go again because that was not a very good lap from him. Is Waze's teammate out on a lap? No, it's just Waze. I don't think Waze's teammate is here tonight. So it's just Waze at the moment. Obviously, Corsfatino is trying his best to join the session. So far, he's not having any luck. So, basically, Dan, in order to stay in the title fight, he needs to score at least 8 points. Tony needs at least 15 points. And Chris Johnson needs at least 19 points. So, if they score more than that, then they're still in the title fight next week. And wouldn't that be amazing to still have 6 drivers by the end of tonight still be in the title fight? That'll be absolutely crazy. So let's make it happen, folks. But not everyone is going to score that amount of points, I don't think. So we could see 1 or 2 drivers get knocked out. Wait, that's not good. You invalidated your lap time. That is not good at all. Anyone else about to cross the line? Scottish Goat going into the pit lane. So it is Jake next on a lap time. Of course, Jake was very happy with his performance last week. He got a podium, and I think he got 4th or 5th in the first race as well. As every time I talk good about him, he invalidates. So I better shut up with that one and not talk any good about a driver again. Let's see what Chris Johnson can do then. Tiny so far. Didn't see what he did during sector 2, so we don't know what the ideal scenario. Oh, he went a bit wide there. I think that would have cost him quite a bit of time, but what's it going to be for Chris Johnson? It's going to be a 1:20.2. So he is going to go into the pits very soon, and he's in 7th position. So those are all your lap times so far, but look at the top 4, separated by a few tenths. That's insane. And that means, in my opinion, it's shaping up to be a great race. Of course, with a 50% race, it is going to be a safety car enabled race. And what is interesting about next season, we're going back to 3 races a night. 3 races a night next season, 3 25% races, no safety cars in each of them. And I think it's one-shot qualifying in all 3 of them as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers handle that next season. But of course, we're still doing the 35/25% for the rest of the season, apart from tonight, which has the 50%. Chris Johnson invalidated, but luckily I was in the lap anyway, so he goes into the pits. His teammate is heading through into sector 1 now. He's doing a lot better than his rivals. He's had a very good first sector. Bazza is also on a lap as well. He is on the medium compounder tyres. Doesn't want to use the softs just yet. He just really, I think, wants to get just a feel for the track, really, and not use too many tyres. So, through Ascari, a lot of people seem to invalidate through there. Let's see if Jack Craig doesn't have the same problem. Thank goodness, Jack Craig doesn't have the same problem. And of course, he wants to climb his way up the standings. And maybe Monza could be a good track to do so. Jack goes up to the line. And what's it going to be for the Scotsman? 1:20.056. That is a very decent lap time for him. And that puts himself into P5. But he's going to be a bit out of sync with everybody else. Let's just hope that he gets to the pits in time. Mick, you can't take your seat because the game retired you. Yeah, so the game retired you. That's why, oh, Darky's not racing tonight. That was the first I heard of it. So, for Waze then, Waze is going to hope that he scores a lot of points in order for Waze to have a chance next week. Interesting. Very interesting. So I think, so yeah. So no Deck and no Darky tonight. One of the two key players. Interesting. Right. Final laps then. Let us know who you think is going to be getting pole position around this very iconic circuit. A track where necessarily starting right in the middle is not going to be the most ideal situation, but you want to be starting, I think, ideally second or third, so you get a tow from P1. Actually, no, you want to be starting third or fourth. You want to be starting third or fourth here. Ryan Berry's on a lap. He just started one. Scottish Goat has invalidated, but I think he'll get to go again because let's just hope he's saving his ERS. Yes, he is saving his ERS, so that's fine. So Dan is on his final run now. Nope, he is backed off. So he must have not been happy with his run, so he's going to get to go again. So, but at least he still has time. Let's hope he doesn't come across any traffic. So everyone is out on outlaps. Lewis Craig's on an outlap. Wade's still in the pits. CJ's on an outlap. So is James, Chris, Jake, Jordan, and Badger. Ryan Berry, he is going to be the first person to cross the line. The yellow flags are going to absolutely drive me insane. So bear with us about that because it's always in the wrong position, especially when we have safety cars. So here comes Ryan Berry as he makes his way towards the final few corners. Puts the foot down because it's a very high-speed circuit. And will he slip into the 119s? Nope, he won't. 120.251. Only 2/100 slower than Tony. Oh my goodness, this grid is so close. You're almost a second behind and you're 11th. Insane, that. Insane. So we're going to keep our close eye on people as they finish. CJ will cross the line to start his run. Waze, I hope he makes it on time. I really do hope that he makes it on time. He should do. He should do. We got James starting his outlap, which means I believe it. No, and there's the Hasses. And then it's Scottish Goat, I think, that's going to go again. Luckily, he's improved quite a bit, but will it be enough to get in to the top 10? Answer on the postcard. Nope. 13th. He still remains in P13 as Dan goes into the pits, so I don't think he was happy with that one as Lewis slots himself into P1 with a whopping 119.395, and drivers are gonna be like, well, can I beat that? And Lewis is going to say, beat that. Well, Chris Johnson can't. He has invalidated his run. Better. He's going to come across the line. He wants to get into the top 10. But can he do it? Takes the shortest run to the line. He's 10th. But now, there's plenty of drivers that could snatch it away from him. Chris Johnson, he's invalid, like I was saying, so he can't improve. Next, we've got Jake, who goes up to the line. Can he sneak into the top 10? Yes, he can. B2. Solid lap. But CJ sets a 119.302, which goes almost a 10 quicker than his teammate Lewis. Jordan, haven't seen his true potential around this track. He'll be next to come across the line. And it's going to be in the 19s, isn't it? 119.6. Ho! It's getting more competitive. The track is ramping up if you're on laps. Oh, has Ryan Berry's made a mistake. He's have to dive it in into the pit lane. Tony goes up to the line. What's it going to be? Goes 5th. fastest. Anyone else finishing laps? Lewis Craig, can he do any better? Nope. I think he must have messed up somewhere. But CJ is on pole on debut in Dive Bomb F1. Of course, he raced the TGP2 last season, so technically against this group of drivers is his first pole in a while, and he'll be very happy with that. And we got a Racing Bulls 1-2. Just look how close everyone is. That is insane. So we've got CJ from Lewis, from Jordan, Jake, Tony, Wade, Dan, Gamer James, Jack, Ryan Berry, Chris Johnson, Bazza, Scottish Goat. They were the ones who set a lap, and Mick did not set a lap time. So that is your order for qualifying. And don't forget the top 5 score points in qualifying. So that is good for Tony Parr, one of our championship contenders. He's the only one of our championship contenders to score points in qualifying. Yes, it's only 1 point, but that means that he scored a point at least in this, and he would need that means that he could just score less points in both races. So a quick reminder then of what people need to do. Dan needs at least 8 points tonight to stay in the title fight. Tony needs at least 15. Chris Johnson needs at least 19 points tonight. If none of these drivers do, they'll be out of the fight. Simple as. So, ideally, top 10 is a must, really. But if you really want to maximise and get a strong result, in particular if you're Tony or Chris, then podiums, I'll have to say, is probably a must here. So, it's got to happen. And there's also a situation where we could have people slotting himself into a top 10 in the championship, or want to solidify their top 10 in the championship. So it's going to be very, very interesting. So we are about to get underway with our only 50% race of the season. And I wasn't expecting qualifying to be that close. It was just, I'm still mind blown. But that's what a short track could do for you. I wonder what we're going to see in Monza later on. No, not Monza, Netherlands later on. And we'll just wait for the drivers to choose their strategy. Now, bearing in mind, one stop on this game with a 50% race is really hard. It's doable, but near enough impossible. So probably the fastest strategy for all drivers out there on circuit today is a 2-stop race. So it's not mandatory 2-stop, of course, but I just feel like it's faster with a 2-stop race. Let us know your thoughts in the chat on who you think is going to win this one. We know the tyres overheat quite a bit, and especially the last corner, the dirty air, as I spoke to a few drivers earlier on. That'll be amazing. Mick has just asked if he could join me if he's DNF. No, thanks. I would rather be by myself. Thank you very much. But anyway, I think we should be good to go, because we have been going for quite a while. We have been waiting for quite a while. I don't know who gives the call to ready up. And, we're going to have a bit of a break. Okay, we're going to have a bit of a break so we can get Bettino in. So, because, of course, it'll be unfair if Bettino... So what I'll do... I can't remember who's hosting the lobby, but what I'll do to help Jack a bit is I will get the results from qualifying for you. Oh, he has the grid. Perfect. I don't need to do the screenshot. Thank you, Jack. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Doesn't have to do the grid. Good job to check the chat, because otherwise I would have been wondering what's going on and why people were crashing. But okay, so we are gonna get going, but of course it will be a lobby restart. Hopefully people remember a lobby restart. So we'll see as we'll see people retire. And yeah. I just wanted to get the gameplay just in case we suddenly get a restart. But yeah, hopefully people remember. So Chris, Mick, Tony, Ryan, Berry, Waze, retire. Retire from the race. Oh, as you can't see it at the moment, but Waze and Tony were having a bit of a crash, a bit of a ding dong. They're going to see they could try and crash each other out. There we go. But yeah, doing a lobby restart will allow drivers like Bettina to get into the lobby. So come on, guys, please. Waze, Tony, Ryan, please retire. We've got places to be. And we do have a safety car right now, but of course the race is not going to happen. Just retire, please. Just retire from the race. Just don't waste time. And Jack's copied my one hub penalty. Because yeah, in one hub, if we don't finish sector 1, if we finish sector 1, we get a penalty. Right, I'm going to follow the stream. Actually, no, I'm not going to give these guys attention. Right, Tony gets a penalty. Tony gets a penalty. He's crossed sector 1. Luckily, Waze has retired just in time. But yeah, Tony, yeah, Tony gets a time penalty. Yeah, it was a 19.3 pole position. And I'll need to check with the steward, aka Jack, that he's got one. So, I was going to have a little bit of a break myself, but no, it's good if we check, if we a penalty for you. Apparently, Lewis was 6 temps up and got blocked. I noticed that. I really noticed that. I'm glad it wasn't just me that noticed that. But there were quite a few drivers that got blocked in final corner, and I did say dirty air could be an absolute nightmare. So, yeah, I am not surprised that we've had quite a few people that have costed time in Parabolica. That's going to be interesting from the race. And I almost hurt myself on the stream, which would have been a 119, sorry, not 113. Oh my god, my brain tonight is crazy. Yeah, it was a 119.3, but yeah, he could have gone 6 temps quicker. Lewis Craig. That's what I was meant to say. So Jack at the moment is going to set up the grid. I think Tony will get a free grid penalty due to the fact that he did not retire on time. I think Wade should as well, because he kind of wasted a bit of time, but Wade's crash was cool though. Who on earth is Lord Brocco? Is that Darky? Right, I'm gonna check who he is, because I don't want to be commentating on someone that's not meant to be in the league. So, Jack, if you're watching, we need someone to be kicked, please. Unless it is Darky. No, yeah, someone needs to kick Lord Brocco. Oh, is he a reserve? I did get told that he was reserved. I should have paid attention. Luckily, I can't hear Mick. Whereas every other driver can. But there we go. That happens. So, Brocco is reserve, is he? Okay. That explains it. I am thinking my thoughts out loud on stream. So, right. Why is it always like unmute? It's crazy. So, as promised, we'll go for your order then again of the grid. If it will let me get through the order. Come on. If I meet the site, that'll probably be easier, won't it? It won't let me skip to the results. He needs to change to broccoli, sounds better. Bazza, that's a good idea. That is a good idea. Honestly, Lord Broccoli sounds better than Lord Brocco. Right, I'm trying to get the results from qualifying, but it won't let me. Right, so your order there, so your grid will be as follows. So it'll be CJ from Lewis Craig from Jordan. Yeah, Cole was a 119.302. So yeah, Lewis Craig it was in second. Then it's Jordan, then it's Jake, then it's Tony, then Wade, Dan, James, Jack, Ryan Berry, Chris Johnson, Bazzer, Scottish Goat, Mick. Then it'll be Batinho, and then it'll be Lord Brocco, or as I'm going to call him now, Lord Broccoli. Sorry. It's bad. That was Baz's fault, not mine. That was that was Baz's fault. Anyway, we are about to get underway with some more racing. Thank you so much for your patience this evening. And I'm gonna have Lord Broccoli in my head now till the end of time. Oh my goodness. That's what gets with me looking at the chat. That really does. So basically what everyone is going to do, hopefully no one readies up too early. Everyone has been told and been warned that they can only ready up when Jack says so, which gives enough chance for people to load their setups and strategy and change fuel, because there is a lot to do in one go in terms of a lobby restart, and it's that refresh, isn't it? Like, you have to wait quite a bit to get started. Does that irritate you a little bit, or do you have more of a focused mind a little bit? We'll have to wait and see. We'll see how people do. So, of course, everyone now is going to have fresh tyres during the race, but of course people didn't know that at the time. So, I'm just going to check where Batinho and Lord Brocco has been placed. Yes, it was in that order that I just said. Thank goodness! We have 16 drivers, which we're very, very happy with. Very, very happy with. So I will get the gameplay scene for you as well. We may get a sneaky suspicion about Chris Johnson and Jack Craig's tyres, but we may not. We may not. So, basically, 5 drivers are in the title, well, 6 drivers are in the title fight, which is Wade, Deck, Darky, Dan, Tony, and Chris Johnson. Deck and Darky are not here tonight, but that doesn't matter. They're safe no matter what. Dan needs at least 8 points tonight to stay in the title fight. Tony needs at least 15 points. Chris Johnson needs at least 19 points. And hopefully we will keep you updated as to how many more points those 3 drivers in particular need to score. CJ's asking the driver's chat if it's a mandatory 2-stop. I don't think so, but it's recommended to do a 2-stop because the 1-stop is just not viable around this track anyway. So it is recommended a 2-stop, but we will see some drivers potentially do a 1-stop and make it work. We'll have to wait and see. Luckily, there's no rain, which is a relief. But anyway, we're about to get underway. The 5 red lights are on here at Monza for our 50% race, and it is action. Let's see, it's a good start out of the Racing of Bulls. I think they got an even getaway off the line as they make their way towards turn 1. Lewis Craig tried to cut to the inside. We got one of the Ferraris who's got a launch of a start up into 3rd, as we saw one of the Williams. That's Wade. That's Wade, your championship leader, has dropped a few positions. Gaiman James has had a great start as well. He's up to 4th. Jordan's up to 5th. As we got 3 wide as we head towards Curva Grande. Now it's going to be very risque heading towards turn 4 now. Someone could back off here, but Wade just about gets into P5 again. Tony, Ryan Berry, as Jordan has lost quite a few positions right now, and let's hope he's not got any damage from that. So that is your order so far, and we have got your tyres for you. So top 5 on the mediums, then we've got the Tony, Ryan Berry and Dan on the hards, Jack Craig's on the mediums, Chris Johnson, Bazzer, Jordan, Scottish Goat on hards, Patino on the mediums, Mick on hards, and Lord Brocco on medium. So that is your order so far, as loads of people trying to get with the slipstream. As Brocco's had a bit of a moment going through a scar. You can see one of the McLaren's trying to get past Bazet. No, it's trying to get past Ferrari, I think. Yeah, it was trying to get past Ferrari. There we go. But Waze looking very, very racy as he tried to get past Gamer James in towards turn number 1. And he does it with ease. No DRS yet, but our championship leader is doing what he needs to do right now in 4th position. He's not going to get the maximum points tonight, but he wants to try and climb up the field as much as he can. But Gamer James is used up quite a bit of his ERS to stay behind Waze a little bit and just not let Waze, like, increase the gap to him. And we know that Monza can be a little bit of an ERS killer anyway, so they got to find some ways where they can recharge the battery effectively around here, because otherwise it could be a little bit of a bother here. So the two racing balls, P1 and P2, they're still exchanging positions. Meanwhile, Jake is out of DRS, which means Waze, this could be the big advantage to get onto the podium. So Jake has got to find a bit more time. If I were the two racing balls, I would work together here to try and make sure that none of these other drivers have a bit of a sniff. CJ's currently leading. They'll probably swap position and not fight too much until we get to the end of the Grand Prix. So CJ just set a 1:22.7 right now. We did see a lot of Slipstream Fest last season in TGP2. Bettino, Scottish Go, and Baz having a bit of a ding-dong in towards T1. 3 wide again. Scottish Go was a bit late on the brakes, but they all managed to get through unscathed into that corner. Baz did get up a time penalty, though, which is not ideal at all. Waze did get past Jake, so Waze is up in a 2P3 on the podium. So we'll see if he can try and close the gap on our front two. But him qualifying quite low down at the moment wasn't ideal, because he's found with a lot of work to do. But we'll see what can happen. We'll see if Waze has the pace in him as well. Jake is going to have the DRS, but you can see Waze has a little bit more pace anyway in order to do so. So we'll keep an eye on those medium runners. I know the mediums around here tend to die off very quickly, so don't be surprised to see people do their first stops quite quickly for another set of the mediums. I think if people were to do a 2-stop strategy around here, it will be potentially a medium, hard strategy. But we'll find out, as we can see that Lewis is deliberately choosing to stay behind CJ to help with the engine temps and also to reduce the dirty air as well, which means he'll lose less time. Scottish Go gets another position. Don't forget top 40 score points. So Scottish Go on the hards gets through past Jordan up into 13. Jordan is not having a good race so far, but it's a long way to go because it is a 50% race. Tony, could he get past Gamer James? No, he cannot. The slipstream would have been good on the last game, but it's less powerful on this year's game. So he's going to have the next DRS zone to try and get past just before Ascari. So he saved a bit of ERS. So Tony, the man who won it in Miami, is going to try and go on a charge to try and get past Gamer James into Ascari. So he's not going to do that now. So yeah, the smartest move will have to be turn 1. I think that's probably the only potential move that we could potentially see. Jordan passed Bazza up to 13th. So Jordan's made up some ground again. And I think Tony is going to try and get him here. Yes, he's got the slipstream that he needs. But he's got to get past before T1, because otherwise the dirty air will hinder. And luckily he does. And he's going to try and gain a bit to the car in front, because I don't think Jake had DRS then. So he's gained quite a bit, ever so slightly, as Ryan Berry almost lost it in the middle of turn 1. But luckily he's A-OK with that one. So Tony, I think, doing all he can at the moment as Ryan Berry breezes past Gamer James into the middle of Curva Grande. Nicely done from him. So we'll see if he can maintain these pace throughout the race. So everyone in the midfield just having their fight, their moment in the sunshine. And I'm trying to look at the stats here as to when our first pit stop could potentially happen around Monza. So, as I was looking at my wrong notes, I was looking at the wrong heading. Absolute nightmare, Miss Jess Games 95. So, I think if they want to make the one stop work, they would pit, I think, laps 9 to 10. 2 stops they could pit around about now if they wanted to. But we'll see if anyone makes the one stop work. That will be an absolute lifesaver. Tony, by the way, gets past Jake. Jake's pace is starting to fall off by the wayside a little bit. Maybe he was pushing it too much on his tyre life compared to everybody else. Or maybe it's just those hard tyres are just at a better condition. So now Tony's got some clear air soon. Will Tony have the opportunity to get past those medium runners? We'll have to wait and see. Tony has no penalties either. So we'll see Tony's true pace in that clear air. We got an Alpine versus Williams battle as that was quite difficult to see there with a bit of the spray there. So Scottish go past Fatinho once again. They're going to be switching a route, I think, quite a few times in this race. We're starting to see the hard runners coming to their own as Chris Johnson gets past Jack Craig. I thought Jack Craig would have gone on those hard tyres, but he has not, which I was honestly very surprised about. So Chris Johnson through on his teammate there. Of course, constructors is looking quite interesting. I've not done points for constructors yet. Maybe I'll do that ahead of next week. So if I did it this week, it would have been an absolute nightmare to figure out. Pit stops. Okay, a few laps earlier than I was expecting, so possible 2 stops, maybe. Fatinho is in and so is Jack Craig. So Jack Craig goes on hards. I thought they would have gone on another set of mediums personally for another early undercut, but no, they've gone on for a set of hards. Or maybe they've gone for 2 sets of hards, so they come out of the pit lane, and I wanted the early undercut is going to help them ever so slightly in the long run. So your 2 leaders, CJ and Lewis, doing very well, stretching that gap to Ray brilliantly, and if they can keep this up, this will be work really well for them. And if they work together up until the last few laps, then that's when they can fight. Or will there be team orders? I think for some people, they hope they could just fight because of their first time on the track together. This is more like the pace we wanted to see from Lewis Craig. Oh, safety car. Right, what caused that safety car then, I wonder? Who's got no front wing? Right. I am hunting for front wingless. So it's not the top 12, they're fine. Ah, right, that explains it. Mick has got no front wing. Where did he hit himself? I have no idea. Jack Craig? Has Jack Craig got no front wing or is he fine? He's fine. Fatinho. That pit stop has not worked well for Jack Craig and Fatinho. They were thinking to themselves, no, that's so not right. I had to get that pun sooner or later, eh? But for those 2, it's going to be an absolute nightmare because the ones that have just pitted as Mick has retired from the session. And Bettino's come in again. So he wants to get... Surely the second set of halves won't get to the end, no? That's a bit of a risk for Bettino. That is interesting. As Brocco's got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which is so easy to do around it. If I was Brocco, I would come into the pits again and serve that 10 seconds and go on to another set of hards. potentially. That's what I would do. But it depends if he's got the hard strategy selected, potentially. But we'll see. So, a mixture of strategies, so you can tell who's going for the 2-stop and who may be sticking with the 1-stop. So, your tyre allocation is as follows for people's first stops, because everyone has stopped at least once. CJ and Waze have gone for hards. Tony, Jake and Lewis... No, Tony's on mediums, Jake and Lewis on hards. The only reason why Lewis lost position, the more position than he would have liked, was because the two racing balls had to double stack. And, well, you would have lost time if he stayed out anyway. So, Lewis had no other option. It was gutted for him, but who knows what could he do? And if he would have pitted earlier, then he would have lost more time anyway. Ryan Berry is on mediums. Gamer James is on hards. Chris Johnson is on mediums. Dan is on mediums. Scottish Goat is on mediums. Jack Craig is on hards. And we got Bazzer. Why is it not letting me go on board with Bazzer? There we go. Bazzer, Jordan, Martino, and Brocco are on mediums. This is going to be an exciting race. 1-stop versus 2-stop. Dum, dum, dum. Very spicy. Which strategy is going to come out on top here? Answers on a postcard. What I would really love to see is, of course, the tyre wear. How would that affect people? As I just took a bit of a sip on my drink to make sure that I stayed hydrated throughout this race. Why is Lord Brocco stayed in the pits? Ow, he's got to serve his 10-second. Honestly, it will feel like the longest 10-second of your life, which means the safety car will be in, I believe, will stay out for another lap. Which for some people, they will be relieved, but for other people, it's going to be an absolute nightmare for them because they're going to be gutted that they went out on mediums. Brocco's gone on softs. I don't know why, but I'm guessing he wants to go on the strategy that he was earlier and he had no other choice about what tyre he goes on. Luckily, Chris Johnson has just rejoined the session. That is good. That is always good news. So, championship contenders, Chris Johnson and Dan, they got a lot of work to do. They need to have a very good Zattenvor if they do not score well here today. I'm just trying to remember who was ahead. I think Dan was the one ahead. He only needs to score 8 points, I believe. So, Dan would need to... Hold on, let me just have a look. So Dan would need to finish 7th. So if he doesn't like Zambor and he wants to make sure he stays in contention for next week, as long as he finishes 7th or higher, he should be fine. And of course, Chris Johnson needs to get on the podium. Tony Parr needs to get on the podium. Tony is doing what he needs to do right now, which is very, very impressive. He's having a very good race so far. So it's going to be interesting to see how the ones that are in danger of being eliminated could do. So we are about to go racing for the second time tonight. The question is, when will the safety car come in? Only one way to find out. Let's go on board with CJ, actually. Just at the right time. There we go. So, safety car is in this lap. So CJ is going to be the Burt Mylander in this situation. He's frantically warming his tyres up as they try to get up to temperature on this lovely Wednesday evening around Monza, the Temple of Speed. Of course, a track where we want to see, where the supposed you want to see, in particular the Ferraris do well, but of course the Racing Bulls and the Saubers. So there we go. So CJ can't afford to go too early, because otherwise Waze, Tony and Jake, and Lewis in particular, are going to get a massive tow from you. And that's exactly what you do not want to do. So the safety car's in the pit lane. So if I was CJ, I would leave it as late as possible. And he's following my advice. Good old CJ. And there he goes. We go racing for the second time tonight. And that was a very good restart there. Jake's dropped loads of positions. He got caught off guard. Whereas Lewis and Ryan, that has really helped them in towards T1. And I think Lewis is going to try and gain the positions back that he lost there. We thought there was damage in the background, but luckily that isn't. We've got CJ from Waze, from Tony, from Ryan Berry, from Lewis Craig. Gamer James in 6th. He's had a good start. He's got Lewis Craig for company, but there were so many drivers that got caught out by this restart. Dan being one of them because he cut the chicane in towards turn 4, which has allowed Chris Johnson to close up even more on Jake. Or it might be Jake that gone a bit wide. We don't know. But in a real life situation, you would of course have to get a position back if you cut an extravagant amount. So we will see how that goes. CJ's already broken DRS to Waze, which shows that he's not lost his pace in between games, which I am very happy to say that's good news. So good old CJ, he's not lost his spark, he's not lost his pace, and the game for F1 25 seems to me that it suits him well. 8 tenths per second now between CJ and Waze, and now with CJ not having his teammate around him, maybe CJ might be pressured into fighting a bit more because he won't have his teammate around him. Lewis Craig defending, well, trying to attack Ryan Berry. Nice little ding-dong fight there. Lord Brocco and Bazza not having a good race either, unfortunately. What could have been for them. But for some drivers, of course, it is really a damage limitation race around Monza because there's quite a few drivers that when I was looking at the chat, they weren't really looking forward to the 50% race around Monza. As Dan gets past Chris Johnson into the second Lesmo. Now that was a great move. I did not know why I missed that, but Dan is really going to chase the field down. We'll see what he could do. He needs to finish 7th, I believe, in this race in order for him to keep his title hopes alive next week. But if he doesn't finish 7th, of course, I think you only need to score like 1 or 2 points in the next race and he'll be fine. But that will still leave him a lot of work to do next week in order to keep his title hopes alive then. So ideally, you want to be scoring as much points as you can. CJ setting the fastest lap of the race. We've got Ryan Berry and Gamer James going side by side. So it's Tony and Lewis Craig. Lewis Craig to the right-hand side in towards T1. And he gets the job done. Lewis Craig is back on the podium. And because Waze has got a penalty, it looks like it is going to be a Racing Bulls 1-2 once again. Jake right on the back of Ryan Berry. He's going to go for the movement towards turn 4. They make a bit of contact and Jake has gone into a spin, and that's not good. He's got to wait until Brocco goes past him, and oh, that is gutted for him. But good news for Lewis Craig as the move to get past Tony was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely masterclass textbook stuff. Is he going to close in on Waze? We'll have to wait and see as the race continues. I think Jake's tire is going to overheat quite a bit after that spin now. So we'll see how he tries to climb his way through the field. More penalties. Vitinho has got himself now a penalty. And he's dropped down at the field once more. But this is going to be interesting now. The gap between Lewis Craig and Waze is 1.2 seconds. So he needs to close in ASAP. So we'll see how much battery Lewis Craig has got. He's not saving his battery, so he's going to do all he can to try and close in. Meanwhile, this is a really nice fight between Ryan Berry, Dan, Chris Johnson, and Scottish Goat. Come on. This is going to be epic. Of course, Chris Johnson would need to climb up more positions, and Gamer James is through on Ryan Berry. Nicely done. But don't forget, Ryan Berry does have... not Ryan Berry, sorry. Gamer James has penalties, whereas Ryan Berry doesn't. So as long as Ryan Berry stays within the penalty window, then that would really help him. Dan looked like he was going to get past Ryan Berry there, but a dirty air would have been an absolute nightmare. Look at the gap that CJ's pulled on Waze. 2.2 seconds. Of course, CJ's definitely going to set a statement ready for next season. He could be title favourite going into next season, which would be amazing to see. Lewis Craig, I think he's going to go for the move on Waze here. We'll see what he could do. In towards T1. No, he's going to wait for a little bit. He's going to save a bit of ERS, which I think is very smart. Jordan gets past Scottish Goat. And we got Dan is up to 5th. You saw what was going on in front of them. But Dan was up into 5th there. Getting past Gamer James and Chris Johnson. So as it stands, because Dan is in 5th, he is doing enough right now to be in this championship fight for another week, which I think he'll probably be very relieved about. So we're pretty much half race distance right now. So if you are liking this action so far, make sure you hit the like button, and also press the subscribe button and turn notifications on if you are new, so more people get recommended this lovely league. As more time penalties, Jack Craig getting one of those time penalties. Let's get the penalties up on your screen. So, Waze, Gamer James, Jack Craig, Bazza, Bettina, and Lord Brocco are the ones with penalties. Bazza, I believe, the only one to get 6 seconds. Lewis Craig gets through on Waze. He needed to, really. Otherwise, he would have lost quite a bit of time to his teammate. So could we have a teammate battle for the win of this race? I really can't wait to see this. So we'll try and maybe see the gap come down as Jordan gets past Ryan Berry. And look at Scottish Goat. His pace is looking absolutely brilliant on those mediums. I think if I was him, I would definitely play a back seat into this, which he is. Because if he was going to try and go for the move there, he probably would have gone and spun just like we saw Jake do a few laps ago. So, Scottish Goat definitely did the right thing there. So this is going to be a very nice fight. Yellow flag. That was Brocco, I believe. Is that Brocco? Yeah, it was Brocco that caused that yellow flag, unfortunately. His pace, unfortunately, has not been very good. Bertino did pit earlier on as well. So 12 laps to go of this Italian Grand Prix. Don't forget, we got the 25% race around Monza. So 2 stops. Second stops are being made. Okay, Tony is in the pit lane. I'm trying to go on board with Tony. So Tony's in the pit lane. So is Dan. So I thought Dan would have got a 10-second, but nope, it was just a game being the game with the visual glitch. So there we go on that front. More yellow flags. That was Lord Brocco. Let's hope that does not cause a safety car. We will have to see a little bit later on. Now, with about 5 or 6 cars in this one long DRS trade. It's going to be an absolute nightmare for them. And we're just seeing it right there. Because Scottish Go was so close to dirty air, it was an absolute nightmare. And he lost traction and he lost the straight line speed that he needed, which means that his engine was probably getting a little bit hotter as well. So that is not ideal for Scottish Go. Coutinho gets another 3-second time penalty. So for Coutinho, if he wants to score more points, he's going to have to do a lot better than that. We have got a McLaren in the pit lane, and that belongs to Sir Chris Johnson. So Chris Johnson comes in to the pit lane. Ryan Berry has got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Oh no, that must be absolutely devastating. So where is Chris Johnson's going to come out? Hopefully in clear air for him, as we just saw Dan go through because he just pitted. And Chris Johnson comes out as Bucco's retired. He's binned it. Does that call the safety car? I doubt it. Oh, no. Has he? Wait, hold on. Let's go on board with CJ. Oh, I think, wait. He binned? That's a weird place to bin it, I would say. But also, I think the reason why that didn't call the safety car was probably because it was off the road. It was off the circuit. So I think everyone was lucky that there wasn't a safety car, because we've got quite a few drivers that have got time penalties now as we approach towards the final third of this race. As Chris Johnson on fresh mediums. I am interested to think on why some people have gone for mediums, because we know the mediums died very quickly in the first stint. But bearing in mind, they were on high fuel then. At this point of the race, they will be on low fuel. So, Jack Craig goes into the pit lane for his final stop as well. And he goes on to a strategy that I thought he was going to do. So he's gone for the harder strategy. So he's gone for medium, hard, harder, looks like. And this will comfortably get him to the end of the race. And it's going to be a drag race between him and Ryan Berry. But Ryan Berry gets the edge because, obviously, of that undercut. But he's been out for quite a bit, so he must have pitted earlier. So who will try and stretch it out to the end, who will not? Of course, the ones who have done double medium, they would have to pit again, because otherwise they can't. The game will disqualify them. Oh, the penalties just keep wrapping up. It's an absolute nightmare for some of these drivers. Wave, by the way, is looking hungry for second, but he does get that on track anyway, because Lewis Craig comes into the pits. So he goes on to a set of the mediums. It will be a bit harder to manage towards the end, but less harder than Chris Johnson. So where will Lewis Craig come out? He will come out just ahead of Tony Parr. So that pit stop really helped him. Ryan Berry got a penalty, a 10-second, and he's given up. He has given up. Which I don't understand why, because who knows, there might have been a safety car, but, you know, I always encourage people, even if you're having a horrific race, still keep going. You never know when good luck might come with a safety car and you could be back in this one. So I believe Ryan Berry had no penalties either, if I'm not mistaken. I'm interested to see why Scottish Go has been on those mediums for 12 laps now. Surely he's got to think about pitting next lap for a set of hards, or maybe he's stretching out for a set of the soft compounder tyres. So we'll see what he does then as Waze comes into the pit lane. Swanee goes for a set of the mediums. So I think if the majority of people pit now, they will go onto the mediums. Jake comes in as well. He's got lost a bit of ground because don't forget he had that spin earlier. But a drag race between Wade and Tony. And with that undercut, that's really helped Lewis Craig. Even though Lewis Craig was a lot quicker than Wade and he pulled the gap anyway before the pit stops. Interestingly, Scottish Go has gone for a set of the soft compounder tyres. And honestly, I do not recommend that because that won't get to the end of the Grand Prix. But good luck to him. We will see. Of course, he can pit on to another set of the softs whenever there's a safety car, but that means he's using up most of his softs anyway. So I just don't get it at this point. We know that CJ's teammate will probably try and come in. No, Lewis's teammate, CJ, will probably try and come in now. Apologies, I was trying to get my mic in a good place, but it was just very, very tricky because it kept almost falling. So I've got it fixed now, luckily, as we're on lap 22 of 27. Side-by-side action, that's Gamer James and Jordan. I have to say, very good recovery from Jordan. Jordan is always good in not picking up time penalties. So if we get a safety car, he's back in this because he's got no pens, and that will be very ideal for him. So he's probably, at the moment, doing a safety car dance. Honestly, I know they patched it so the track limits are less lenient, so there could be potentially more people getting time penalties than we would expect, which is going to be very interesting to say the least. If you've not got penalties, you should be on for a good race. Dan being one of them, and he's 1.9 seconds behind Tony. So he's going to hope maybe that Tony and Wade make another mistake. Lewis, by the way, sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:22.099. Because he's on new mediums, he's brought... Oh, that was a very tight first corner. And that is why sausage curbs should not be in a Formula 1. From people that may know, I rant so much about sausage curbs. And people may think, oh, Jess, why do you make such a massive deal on it? It could almost cost some people's life. So, yeah, sausage curbs should just go. Jack Craig, by the way, whilst I was having that rant about sausage curbs, Jack Craig is through on Game & James up into 9th place. I'm having a bit of fun on rants, you could probably tell right now. I'm so glad we haven't had that many safety cars compared to last season in TGP2. I think we only had one this season. Last season, I think we had 3 or 4, and I was racing it, and it was an absolute nightmare. And I was just saying to myself, oh no, not another safety car. But of course, safety cars, I believe, don't come out as often on this game anyway. I think the Brocco crash on the last game definitely would have been a safety car. So I think I know what CJ's going to do. And that's going to be very brave from CJ. Because he's got the gap right now, he is going to try and get those hard tyres to the end. I love that bravery. Bravery, sorry. Why did I say that word wrong? I don't know. But the absolute danger he's going to get, that his tyres are going to be very close to puncture. Scottish goes out of the race, but he's retired in the pit lane. So everyone else is still going because of that. But yes, Let us know in the chat, by the way, if you're watching. Will CJ's tyres get to the end? And more crucially, would he make the one-stop work and still keep this race win? Because that will be amazing. Meanwhile, Dan has found the pace on Tony. You can tell that Tony's tyres are definitely dying right now. So I think if I were Tony, he's got a lot of work to do in order to make sure that he doesn't let down on his pace. So, yeah, I think he's struggling for grip and traction. So on lap 25 of 27, we're going to see Dan to the inside. Through he goes. Surely it's going to be an easy move because he's got the DRS as well. He was also using the DRS, so Dan Wilnut is up into 4th place. So through into 4th place he goes. He's not going to get a podium because he's a little bit too further back, but at least he's doing all he can to make sure that he keeps his title hopes alive. And those curves he nailed absolutely beautifully there. And I was trying to get to the off-board shot, but luckily I did. All it took was getting past another driver. Meanwhile, Lewis and Wade are fighting for 2nd position on track. Yes, Wade has got a penalty, but we don't know how many warnings Lewis Craig has got. And people may ask what the warnings are, but I'm not going to look because I want it to be a surprise. I want it to be a surprise on what warnings they have potentially got. So, the penultimate lap then of this race, the only 50% race of the season. The drivers have definitely gave us some entertainment here this evening. I wonder how people are going to manage when we can go to Zandvoort later. Yes, CJ's going for the one-stop. Okay, CJ's going to go for the one-stop then. So he's going to be praying to the gods that he's going to get no puncher. Okay. He's going to be my drive of the day if he can make that one-stop work. So, CJ, no pressure. But knowing me, I would probably jinx him. So, not going to say anything more whilst we watch this fight on track between Lewis Craig and Shet Race. Oh, Lewis, no! So, you see, mistakes can happen through Ascari. Oh. So, now it's even. Now, this is a fight for position now. Because Lewis has got 3 seconds. Wade has got 3 seconds. There we go. Bring it on. So, I wonder what's going to happen there. We're on the final lap of this race. This could be for the win here if CJ gets a puncher. But we hope that CJ does not get a puncher. Through to turn 1, you can see Lewis Craig is running out of airs. Wade is doing exactly the same thing. And it's going to be an absolute nightmare for him. Let's watch CJ. He's going at normal speed at the moment, which is good. But there's some times where he can pretty much ease it off a little bit and be conservative with his tyre if he can get to the end. Because as long as he's in the lead, come the end of the race, it doesn't matter how big the gap is. As long as he comes across the finish line first, that's all he has to worry about. So, not many people have won a Dive Bomb F1 race on debut. And CJ is going to be one of those people that comes across the line. He returns to winning ways on the F1 game. And he wins his first race on F1 25 and his first race with Dive Bomb F1. 11.6 seconds, but it'll be more than that. Has he got a drag race to line? Lewis is going to hold on to 2nd. Wade's 3rd. As Vitinho gets past Tony. And Patino has had a great recovery. Playing under the radar, but had a very good recovery. So Tony in 5th. Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson's got no penalties. Okay. So Dan 4th. Chris Johnson 5th. Tony 6th. Jordan 7th. Patino 8th. Jack 9th. James 10th. Jake 11th. And Bazza in 12th. Your retirements are Scottish Goat, Ryan Berry, Brooker, and Mick. So, Dan would have scored 12 points. Chris Johnson would have scored... So, Chris Johnson 5th, 10. So, Chris Johnson... So, he scored 10 points. So, Chris Johnson will need to score 9 more points for him to be in the fight. Dan is going to be mathematically in contention next week. That's the most important thing, because he scored 4 points more than expected, so he will do enough. Tony, he finished in 6th, so he will score 9 points. So, do the maths. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Wait, hold on. I am being an idiot here. So, yeah, 9 points. Duh. So, Tony would need 6 points, I believe, in order to keep his title fight hypes alive. So Chris Johnson needs 9. Tony needs 6. So 6 more points for Tony. Chris Johnson, 9 more points. There you go. That's quick maths for you. So, CJ from Lewis Craig from Waze Dan, there's your order there. My driver of the day goes to CJ, the one stop. He was the only one that made it work, and it was absolutely brilliant, fantastic pace. Bazza does get the fastest lap as well. So, without further ado, we're going to take a short break, because the drivers will be on a break, and I'm not going to be talking for 5 minutes. Definitely not, otherwise my voice will go after that 50%. So, we're going to take a break. We will see you for race 2 around Zandvoort in 5 minutes with one-shot qualifying. See you in 5. Right then, welcome back to Dive Bomb F1. This is the next race of the night as we head to an amazing track of Zandvoort. And of course, Zandvoort is a really fun in qualifying. In the race, it's going to be very difficult. Of course, one of the tracks where there is a reverse layout on the F125 game, the drivers, luckily, in most cases, like everybody, is going to be happy that they're not going to be racing the reverse track. Anyway, so a little bit of information about Zandvoort. Zandvoort was first opened in 1948. It was bought in 1927 by Le Mans winner Sammy Davis, and the original layout was 4.2 kilometres. Formula 1 arrived in the Netherlands back in 1952, with Alberto Ascari dominating the race. It was a 1-2-3 for Ferrari. And what drivers would do in terms of describing the track, really quick, pretty insane, crazy, and old school. There could be quite a lot of things that describe it like a roller coaster. But we're about to get underway then, because it is a 25% race. But first, it's a one-shot qualifying session. And for those of you that missed the race, well, you missed an absolute cracker. CJ was the only driver that was able to make the one-stop strategy work, and he absolutely nailed it. But let's go on board with one of our championship contenders of Chris Johnson as he makes his way in towards turn number 1. Oh, what the hell? I was meant to go on board with Chris Johnson. I was trying to remember how I go on board. There we go. F6. There we go. Trying to remember that, and I was on board already. Duh. But anyway, through it in towards the next section, uses a lot of curve, which is very good. And a slight lift and sixth gear is recommended, but you can do it in 7th. Doesn't use that much the curve there. He's going to lose quite a bit of time. He's lost quite a bit of time already, actually, making his way through. Going in towards turn 10. We're seeing quite a few invalidations already, but we're seeing a quite close-up grid as Chris Johnson makes his way towards the final few corners. Very tight on entry. Second gear and make sure you go in to sit, then aim to the right, 5th gear on exit. Go into the final corner. Oh, he's lost a bit of time there. Oh, but it is Lewis Craig that slots himself into pole position with a 110.133. Wow. So there we go. Lewis Craig has set the benchmark for this 25% race around Zandvoort. So there's your order then. Lewis Craig from Jordan, from Scottish Goat, Vitinho, CJ, Jake, Bazza, Waze, Dan, and James. Then we got Chris Johnson and Ryan Barry. So the top 10 separated by a second. The ones that have set invalid laps were Tony, Jack Craig, and Lord Brocco. And I'm looking at the driver's chat right now, and yeah, set to 2 flat out. It is absolutely insane. And one small mistake can absolutely cost your lap time. So, 2 different pole sitters tonight. We have 2 different winners. We have to wait and see. I'm trying to remember who won here in TGP2. I think it was either CJ or Lewis. Might have been Lewis, actually. I remember there was a very big gap between the rest of the field as well. I remember I really enjoyed Zandvoort. Even though I didn't finish where I wanted to be, I really enjoyed racing Zandvoort because I was fighting with Deck most of the race. But Dirty Air is going to have a bit more of a play into this one, so it's going to make things a little bit very, very difficult. And the reason why Chris Johnson lost a bit of time because he was saying in the chat that he got a bit of oversteer in the banking. So there you go then. Let us know your picks for the win of this one as we got some cars ready to take their place on the grid. No Mick, though, for this race. He's unable to make it. Surprise, surprise. Chris Johnson has left the session. That is not ideal. Hopefully, we could get Chris Johnson back soon. So otherwise, that will be a little bit unfair. But anyway, here we go. We are about to go racing for the second time tonight around Zandvoort. And it is action in the Netherlands. And here we go then as Lewis Craig gets a very good start. So does Scottish Goat, actually. Quite a few people lost positions, Jake being one of them, as we make our way towards turn 2 and 3 now. Ignore that Ryan Berry's leading. He is not. It's because timings are having a little bit of a paddy, as they always like to do in the second lobby sometimes. But we are starting. Oh, Tony's made a mistake. Tony has made a mistake. Oh, no. Tony has lost his front wing. That's a bit of a nightmare. Of course, no safety cars, of course. Meanwhile, Vitinho is up to 3rd as he gets past Baden. Baden had a good start. Almost got swamped by Jordan. There was quite a lot of action happening in the mid-pack. This is incredible stuff. But that's allowing Lewis Craig and Scottish Goat to pull away here. As fastest, tyre. Whoa, this is interesting. We got Vitinho, Bazza, and the Waze on the soft tyres. Jordan on mediums. There's quite a lot of movement going around here. So Jordan up the inside. Oh, this could be like 3 or 4 wide. Wade has gone into the pits. Wade's gone to the pits. Not ideal. Round the outside goes Jordan. That'll be a bit too risky, but Jordan trying to get the positions back. Tony's got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Tony's probably relieved that Waze is not having a good race either. So I think Tony will still be in the fight after tonight because of Waze not having a good race. So, and Tony has left the session. Okay, so CJ is in 8th with Jake in 9th. I think those were the ones who dropped positions. The gap between Lewis and Scottish Goat is now 1.1. So Scottish Goat is out of DRS. Vitinho is the same. That means Bad is going to gain a lot. Bad has probably had the best starts out of anyone. We'll see who has gained the most places then. More yellow flags. That's Ryan Berry out of the session. Ooh. So he binned it at a very weird place. It must be that his controller or his wheel must have had a little bit of an off or something. So what's happened to Bazza there? I see what he's done. Right, okay, so Bazza and Dan were having a battle there. Dan is up into 4th. Of course, Dan's still in the championship fight. Bazza is not. So Bazza, understandably, trying to help Dan score as many points as he can. So there will be many drivers helping other drivers out. But we'll see what happens here as we get into the nitty-gritty part of the championship next week. So here we go then. But I think Dan's gonna potentially get past Vitinho here. Vitinho is losing a bit of ground on those tyres. We'll get the tyres up again for you. Here we go. There is the puppy. As Dan's kicked off a bit of the gravel there, which is might have lost him a bit of time, but that's fine. And I think managing his tyres a bit better. We almost did the same for what Chris Johnson did in qualifying, and we definitely did not want to see that. So here comes Dan as what's happened to Bazza? Bazza might have not let people through. He might have just struggled in the final corner. Maybe with force feedback on the controller? I don't know. So now that is interesting. So Bazza's dropped down to 8, or maybe those softs are not behaving the way that it should for Bazza, which is a shame because he had a very good qualifying. So interesting to see how it plays out. Scottish Goat, by the way, whilst we were seeing that battle, is leading the way on Lewis Craig. More yellow flags. That's... is that Chris Johnson? Yeah, that is Chris Johnson. That's had an off in the final... Well, not the final corner, in towards turn 1. So that might cost him here, and that might cost him next week in terms of championship hopes. So a bit frustrating that. So Lewis Craig got a bit of straight line speed on Scottish Goat now. That was impressive. Then we're going to try and see the same on CJ with Vitinho. So CJ is through up into 5th. Jake is starting to claw back a little bit as well, which is great news for the Ferrari boys. Bazza is in for hards, so he's gone for the undercut. Oh, yes. Probably so maybe Bazza did not let Dan through earlier. He may have just got like damage, and he was just losing a bit of grip in banking earlier. So he must have got damage like that one or something like that. Of course, it's very hard to tell, but there we go. So we'll see how everyone copes with those mediums, but we know those softs are going to die soon, which is why the gap between Dan and Lewis Craig is increasing ever so slightly, which is probably music to the ears of Lewis. Darky was asking who won in the chat. Monza. Just to be sure. So, Lewis Craig does take the lead from Scottish Goat once more. They'll be switching, I think, places due to DRS to make sure they gain the DRS. CJ's already right on the back of Dan. So, yeah, those softs are just giving up the ghost right now. But CJ loves his truck. He always has been. So, not really that surprised to see his good pace really start to shine. Jordan as well is doing quite decent too, which is really what we want to see. As I take another sip of my drink, and I forgot to mute my mic at that point. So Lord Brocco goes into the pit, and for me, I sometimes like to call him Lord Broccoli. Cough, cough, Bazza. So, I'm never going to let that down, probably. But anyway, that is fine. So, Chris Johnson past Lord Brocco up into 12th place now. And we know Chris Johnson will have to pit again because realistically, will those softs get to the end of the race? I don't think so. So I think he's got a lot of work to do. So you can see CJ up into third right now as he goes through. Jordan, I think, is going to get past Dan too, but he almost, the dirty air almost did not help him ever so slightly there. And using a bit of that curb, the more grip you have on those tyres, the more curb grip that you could use. Waze does get past Bowser. Of course, Wade and Bowser had to pit quite early due to the damage they sustained. Bowser did again. I wonder if he's got tech issues because he's gone again. Front wing damage. Oh, he's got front wing damage again, probably. So I won't be surprised. Like, he's got to be careful that he's not a lap down soon. I think he'll be fine, but yeah, it's not been his day, is it? There's still a long way to go. With no safety car, there'll be no chance for him to get back into this race. So your order then: Lewis Craig from Scottish Goat, CJ Jordan, Dan Wilner has gone into the pit lane for his one and early stop, I believe. And he's going to try and stretch those mediums for 10 or 11 laps. Now, that's going to be tricky. But never say never for Dan. And he's come out in 7th position. So ahead of the ones who have already pitted already. And more crucially, he's pitted at the right time because he's came out in clean air. And around Zandvoort, you do not want to come out and still have dirty air in front of you. So we're almost approaching the halfway stage of this race. Make sure that you do leave us a like and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you are new. We are on almost 80 actually we are on 80 subscribers. Brilliant. So massive shout out to those of you that have subscribed, and for those of you that haven't, please do give us a subscribe button. That will be lovely. The more supporters that we have on the channel, the better. Gamer James now comes in for his stop. So what tyres is he going to come on to now? He's going to come on to mediums as well. So there we go. So I was trying to think, was James on mediums at the start of the race or was he on hards? So if he was on mediums at the start of the race, he would have had to pit again anyway. So, Scottish Goat, I think, is going to struggle on CJ now because Scottish Goat, when Lewis Craig passing, the gap now has increased to 2.6 seconds. And we know how CJ could be, I think, very, very rapid. And he wants to, of course, try and score maximum points around here. Chris Johnson gets past Jack Craig up the 10th. Here comes CJ. Nicely confident move from CJ in the Racing Bulls. And he's going to be in the Racing Bulls for the rest of the season. And it's again a Racing Bulls 1 and 2. Now, I did have the constructors image somewhere. I don't think it's been updated yet, because otherwise I would have gone through it. And at the moment, the companion app is showing me ads of washing machines. Why are you showing me ads of washing machines? I do not want to see ads of washing machines. Is it because they heard me wanting to need to do some washing later on? So yes, the points have been updated. Okay, that explains it. Okay, cool. So your order then So Way's on 239, Deck's on 181, Darky's on 174, Dan's on 168, as CJ has come into the pit lane for his one and only start. Of course, with no safety car, you don't need to double stat. So you've got to figure out when it's best to pit and to make sure you don't pit at the same time. So CJ has gone for softs. So I would expect the top 4 to come in for softs as well. So where's he going to come out in relation to Dan? It's going to be close. CJ just about gets ahead. That was very well timed from CJ. That's not going to help Dan, though, because Dan knows he's got the warmer tyres compared to CJ. So Dan has got to make the move now. This is going to be an interesting fight, and CJ and Dan can't afford to lose that much time at the moment. Again, your top 4 still yet to stop in this race. They're trying to eke it out for as long as they can. But for the more they stretch it out, the more that they're going to lose quite a bit of time to their competitors. So Lewis Craig is in. Scottish Goat is in. Jake comes in as well. But they're going to have a big gap. So let's watch CJ and Dan fight it out now. But we know CJ's going to try and stretch this. So CJ has got to stretch that gap as early as he possibly can. And then he can start conserving. And that would probably help him with the win of this race. As all that was close, CJ just about got ahead of his teammate. So undercut on this game is powerful. So there we go. Now this is going to be very interesting. Teammate versus teammate. The last time we saw it, Monza. But you could tell they weren't fighting because they wanted to make sure they held position. Whereas here, are they going to fight? It would be interesting. It will make a good broadcast, but they want to still score as much points as they can. So after this, CJ, of course, has scored more points than some people that have been here for most of the season. Cough, cough, Mick, Stereogram. Of course, with Mick and Stereogram missing out on like most races, without those two, the pace cap would have still been there next season. Just saying, Mick, Stereogram, if you're watching. But again, it's always nice to see CJ and Lewis Craig back in the league because it pushes a lot of drivers to be better. Well, they have fight. And they fought, and they made contact. Oof. Big oof. That's lost a bit of time, and that's allowed Dan to close in on Lewis. Oh, that is a bit spicy. I was just saying how it was great to have Lewis and CJ in the league. Commentator's curse. Do apologise. Honestly, people always think the commentators' curses aren't real. They are real. Wade is coming for Seb Softs. Why not? He'll still be championship leader after tonight. He's got nothing to lose. So why not have a bit of a fun? Which does make quite a bit of sense. So we're about to start lap 14 as Lewis has stretched the gap quite a lot. But will that contact be investigated by the stewards, or was it just a mistake from one of the drivers? Was it a mistake from CJ? It was very hard to tell from that angle, so I don't know. Because here we go then, Scottish Go and Jordan. Jordan goes down the inside as Scottish Go defends to the outside. Jordan is in to 4th place, which is ideal for him. Coutinho, 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So easy to do around Zambor, but I know they would not have wanted that situation. Coutinho has got a change of front wing, so he's going to come out. And I'm surprised he hasn't gone on softs, because I think softs would have comfortably get to the end, but he would have probably wanted a bit of durability with his tyres. So fair enough with Coutinho. So your current orders so far, Lewis from Dan, from CJ, from Jordan, from Scottish Goat, from Jake, from James, from Bettinio, Lord Brocco, and then Jack Craig. So that is your order. Jordan, 111.827. He has just set the fastest lap of the race. Oh, Jack, what have you done? I went on board with you at the very worst time. Be careful with that rejoin, my friend. Oh, my goodness. I swear I jinxed a lot of people tonight, and I do apologise ever so slightly on that one. Right. Waze past Bather now up to 10th spot. But I think with everyone's... So we only got 2 DNFs, and that means the 13 drivers that are still racing, they're still going to get some points. But look at CJ. He's still on the back. This could be still Racing Balls 1 to it. Jordan is in the fight as well. And I think this is going to be key for CJ. As we got the gap now 4 seconds now. So these 3 drivers can't afford to squabble too much. But here comes CJ. Oh! Was that a bit late from Dan? I don't know. Again, it was a very hard angle. I don't know whose fault was that. Did Dan get late on the brakes? Again, I do not know. Will that get investigated by the stewards? I do not know either. I need to stop asking loads of questions that I do not know the answer to. Luckily, Dan's still in the championship fight anyway, and he's the highest scoring one anyway, but he would have wanted to have scored plenty of more points in this championship. Right, so Jordan's right on the back of CJ. Of course, CJ was in the house last season in TGP2. Now Jordan is in the house this season. I can't remember what car Jordan is in this season. I think he's in the Merc, but I might be wrong. Actually, no, he's not in the Merc. Darky's in the Merc. I'll try and have a look at the end of this broadcast, but again, you have to find out about teammates for next season in a couple of weeks' time. Jordan through. Scottish Goat through on Dan, but it's going to be very risky, but they're going side by side, and they are giving just about enough room as Dan has been forced to go a little bit deep, but Scottish Goat is through. I wonder if Dan's tyres is dying a little bit just by staying on them a little bit too long, or maybe pitting a little bit too early, which would have been all right at the time. That's not good for Scottish Goat, is it? Scottish Goat has got a penalty. Bettinio has also got a penalty as well. Wade has passed Brocco. Brocco's actually having a decent race. Fair play to him. He seems to suit Zambor a bit more, so well done to him on that one. Very impressive. And I think we've got CJ that's through on Jordan now. So I wonder if that was tactical from Jordan. We'll have to wait and see, but it's a lot more difficult to pass in turn 11 and 12 on this game compared to previous games. So has Jordan made a mistake there? We are on the final lap of this race. So a lot of work to do here. Look at this. Jordan might have a good run on CJ here. This is a very good fight. Through towards turn 5 and 6 they go. In towards turn 7 now. Clips that curb. I was saying sit if I were you, which he does. Uses a lot of the curb than he should do. Very nice from Jordan. Now, crucially, can he get past CJ here? If he doesn't, then he's probably regretted letting CJ through. I think he's a little bit too further back to do so. So, unless he gets in the final corner, we have no idea here. But let's draw our attention 2, 1 racing board. Lewis Craig, his teammate won race 1. Welcome back to the league, Lewis. You just picked up your first win on F1 25, and you are a race winner in Dive Bomb F1. CJ slots himself into second with another Racing Balls 1-2. Jordan in P3. Dan in P4. Scottish Goat will slot himself into P5 because of that penalty. Jake in 6th. Another good result from James as he heads towards the final corner. Jack Craig, of course, being a lap down, so he's just finished. And he just comes across the line. So James will slot himself into P7. And then we got the 2 Williams teammates. What could have been for those two? Because they had really good pace at the start of the race, but they were just got very, very unlucky. Of course, Fatinho had that 10-second penalty, but I don't think that's going to matter too much unless Fatinho's got a 3-second. So, Wade's going to come across the line. He's going to finish 9th, I believe, because I don't think Fatinho has any more penalties. No, he does not. Basil will slot himself into 10th. Then we got Brocco, who's had a very good race, and Chris Johnson in 12th. So that's your order, provisional order, of course. Will it change after the shows? We don't know. Or will there be any shows reports at all? I mean, quite a lot would have been racing incidents, but again, I'm not a steward, which is probably a good thing. So the Scotsman wins here at Zandvoort. Next week, I will keep an eye on what the calendar is next week, but there's your stats there. So we'll go for your order then. So, Lewis from CJ, Jordan, Dan. So, Dan, Scottish Goat, Jake, James, Martino, Wade, Bazza, Brocco, Chris Johnson, Jack Craig, Ryan Berry, and Tony. Pretty much everyone that came into this championship fight is still in it, I believe. But I might be wrong. I will have to do some maths. But we will see heading into the next round. But we've had 2 great races. I'm now going to have a bit of a lie down because I definitely need it because it's been 2 great races. So, 2 more weeks to go. 4 great races coming up for you. So you make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you do not miss a stream for us. We stream every Wednesday, or pardon me, every Wednesday at 7:10. We've got Singapore and Kota up next week. And Kota will be the first round at Season 6. So that's going to be interesting there. So thank you all for watching. I've been Jess Ball. And it's been great to cover it again for these next 2 rounds. I hope you have a good day. It's almost been a 2-hour stream, by the way, but that's because Monza with a 50% race. Thanks for watching. See you next week, where we kick it off with Singapore and then Kota. Will Waze wrap up the title next week, or will it go to the final 2 rounds of Brazil and Abu Dhabi? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.